Welcome to our channel. We are so glad you found your way here. Let us help you fall asleep. Let's begin with the quiet collapse of Kodak India, the failure of the regional division. Take a slow, deep breath in and release it. Even the tallest towers eventually quiet down. Tonight, we gently explore the empty boardrooms and forgotten ambitions of the past. Your mind is calm, and we are ready to begin. Founded in 1888 by George Eastman, this enterprise initially revolutionized photography with innovative film technology and simple-to-use cameras. It became synonymous with capturing memories, dominating the market throughout the 20th century. The company's slogan, "You press the button, we do the rest," epitomized its consumer-friendly approach, allowing amateur photographers to engage with the art form effortlessly. Expansion into various countries occurred steadily, with substantial growth in India during the late 20th century. This region presented unique challenges and opportunities, characterized by a burgeoning middle class and an increasing appetite for visual documentation. The introduction of affordable film and camera options allowed Kodak to penetrate the market deeply, creating a robust brand presence. The onset of digital technology began to reshape this landscape in the late 1990s. Despite early investments in digital imaging, the company struggled to pivot effectively. Leadership decisions often reflected a hesitance to abandon the legacy of film, resulting in missed opportunities. The slow adaptation to digital formats led to a gradual decline in consumer engagement. By the early 21st century, the once dominant brand found itself overshadowed by newer, more agile competitors, leading to significant market share erosion. This gradual shift marked the beginning of a protracted decline. Innovations characterized the early years of Kodak's endeavors in photography, with the introduction of groundbreaking technology that transformed the industry. The launch of the first handheld camera in 1888 marked a pivotal moment. This simple device allowed everyday individuals to capture moments without needing extensive technical knowledge. The slogan, "You press the button, we do the rest," encapsulated its revolutionary approach, making photography accessible to the masses. These developments continued through the early 20th century as Kodak expanded its offerings. The introduction of color film in 1935 with Kodachrome introduced a vivid medium that enriched visual storytelling. This innovation not only captivated consumers, but also solidified Kodak's position as a leader in the photography market. Advancements in film processing technologies further enhanced the company's reputation, allowing for quicker and more efficient production of images. These innovations fostered a sense of loyalty among consumers who viewed Kodak as synonymous with quality and reliability. The brand became a household name, deeply woven into the fabric of everyday life. Despite these successes, a growing reliance on traditional film products began to overshadow the need for adaptation in a rapidly changing technological landscape. As digital photography emerged, the once bright future of Kodak's regional division dimmed against the backdrop of evolving consumer preferences and market demands. In 1991, Kodak India emerged as a beacon of promise within the realm of imaging. This regional division was established to cater to the burgeoning demand for photographic products in a country marked by rapid economic change. Initial growth was robust, driven by an expanding middle class eager to capture moments through film. The allure of vibrant colors and high-quality prints resonated deeply with consumers, allowing Kodak India to carve a significant niche in the market. The distribution network expanded rapidly, with retail partnerships that facilitated the penetration of urban and rural areas alike. Marketing campaigns, infused with local context, further solidified brand loyalty and positioned Kodak as a household name. Its products adorned shelves, while advertisements showcased the joy of preserving memories, tapping into cultural sentiments that valued family and celebration. The early years reflected an era of optimism. Sales figures climbed steadily as the company innovated within the confines of film technology. Employees experienced a palpable energy, fueled by the belief that Kodak could usher in a new age of photography. Investments in local manufacturing underscored a commitment to the region, enhancing job creation and fostering community ties. Amidst this growth, a sense of stability enveloped Kodak India, setting the stage for what many believed would be an enduring legacy. The emergence of Kodak in the Indian market unfolded with calculated intent, marked by a keen understanding of regional dynamics. Initial entry strategies involved partnerships with local distributors, which facilitated a smoother penetration into this diverse landscape. This approach allowed for the cultivation of relationships that were pivotal in navigating cultural nuances and consumer preferences. An emphasis on local manufacturing emerged as a cornerstone of their strategy. Establishing production facilities within India not only reduced operational costs, but also resonated with a growing national sentiment towards self-sufficiency. This alignment with local aspirations fostered a sense of ownership among consumers, enhancing brand loyalty. Strategic marketing initiatives were employed to position Kodak products as symbols of quality and reliability. Campaigns targeted various demographics, emphasizing the emotional connections facilitated by photography. This engagement with broader societal trends helped Kodak to carve out a niche, appealing to both amateur photographers and professional studios. As the market evolved, the company adapted its product offerings. Diversification into digital technology represented a pivotal shift, addressing the changing landscape of photography. This transition, however, proved challenging as competition intensified and consumer preferences shifted rapidly towards more innovative solutions. The once sturdy foothold began to show signs of erosion, highlighting the fragile nature of their market position. The product portfolio reflected a time when innovation flourished, showcasing cameras and film that captured the essence of life in vivid detail. This region once embraced the simplicity and quality of Kodak's offerings, from compact point-and-shoot devices to advanced single-lens reflex cameras. The allure of nostalgia intertwined with the promise of memories encapsulated in vibrant photographs. Film, in particular, held a revered place in the hearts of consumers, conjuring images of family gatherings and significant life events. Yet, as digital technology emerged, the physical film reels that once dominated began to gather dust on shelves. Increasingly, the allure faded as competitors introduced sleek, digital alternatives that promised instant gratification and ease of sharing. Market dynamics shifted ominously, with consumers gravitating towards new technologies that Kodak's leadership struggled to embrace fully. The once thriving product line gradually lost its relevance, reflecting the company's inability to adapt to changing consumer preferences. Retailers once bustling with Kodak's vibrant displays witnessed a decline in foot traffic. Stock levels of cameras and film dwindled, an unspoken acknowledgement of a bygone era. This tangible disconnect from the evolving landscape underscored a broader trend, revealing the stark reality of a company caught in the throes of obsolescence. The remnants of Kodak's legacy now linger in the shadows of its former glory. The impact of digital technology on traditional photography marked a significant shift within the industry. This transformation rendered established practices obsolete, as the once dominant film-based methods lost their appeal. Photographers increasingly gravitated towards digital solutions, lured by the convenience and immediacy they provided. This evolution influenced both consumer behavior and professional standards, drastically altering the landscape of photography. In this region, the decline of film sales became evident as digital cameras flooded the market. Traditional processing labs began to close, unable to sustain operations amid dwindling demand. The infrastructure that supported the film industry disintegrated, leaving behind empty storefronts and shuttered production facilities. As the digital age blossomed, it ushered in a new era of immediacy and accessibility, fundamentally redefining how images were captured and shared. With each passing year, the technological advancements in digital photography outpaced expectations. Innovative features such as high-resolution sensors and editing software revolutionized image creation. Enthusiasts and professionals alike embraced these tools, often sharing their work through online platforms. The simplicity and efficiency of digital formats further solidified their dominance, leaving traditional photography relegated to a niche market. In the end, this seismic shift left many long-standing companies struggling to adapt, unable to keep pace with the rapid advancements that redefine the realm of visual storytelling. This region witnessed Kodak's initial success, marked by an effective strategy of market penetration. The introduction of affordable cameras and film appealed to the burgeoning middle class, eager to document their lives. Promotional campaigns emphasized the joy and simplicity of capturing moments, resonating with consumers who embraced this new form of expression. In the early years, it was not uncommon to see Kodak branding in households across the country. They established a robust distribution network, ensuring accessibility in urban and rural areas alike. This extensive reach, coupled with a strong emotional connection to photography, allowed the company to flourish. It became synonymous with family gatherings, celebrations, and milestones, solidifying its place in the hearts of consumers. The reception was overwhelmingly positive. People appreciated the quality of photographs and the reliability of the brand. Kodak's products became a staple at weddings, festivals, and vacations. This phenomenon showcased a collective enthusiasm for capturing memories, driven by the ease and affordability offered by the company. With rapid growth came increased loyalty, paving the way for Kodak to expand its offerings. New products, such as instant cameras and color films, catered to the evolving interests of customers. This success, however, would prove to be a double-edged sword as the world began shifting toward digital innovation. The transition to digital technology posed significant challenges for the fading company. Traditional film, once the cornerstone of its identity, faced obsolescence as consumer preferences evolved. This region, once vibrant with the buzz of shutter clicks and film processing, began to grow quiet. Innovation became a necessity, yet the leadership struggled to adapt, clinging to a legacy that had defined them for decades. Market dynamics shifted rapidly. Competitors emerged, offering digital solutions that appealed to a new generation. Those who had once relied on film now found themselves drawn to the convenience of digital photography, which promised instant gratification and ease of use. The allure of capturing moments without the constraints of film processing began to redefine consumer behavior. Strategically, the fading company faltered. Internal divisions cast shadows on the decision-making processes, often prioritizing short-term profits over long-term vision. Resources were misallocated, creating further inefficiencies. A culture resistant to change stifled innovation, and as digital technologies advanced, it became increasingly clear that the organization was lagging behind. As the grip on the film market tightened, the once prestigious brand faced growing scrutiny. With each passing year, the landscape continued to transform, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions. The divide between their technological heritage and the future widened, marking the beginning of an inevitable decline. The emergence of fresh competitors in the Indian market intensified the challenges faced by the fading company. Local firms capitalized on the gap left by a faltering giant, introducing innovative products that resonated with a new generation of consumers. These rivals embraced digital advancements, effectively leveraging the rising accessibility of smartphones and online platforms. Their agility allowed them to respond swiftly to consumer demands, a stark contrast to the sluggish adaptation seen in the established entity. The Indian landscape became increasingly saturated with affordable cameras and imaging solutions, each promising convenience and modernity. This proliferation eroded the market share previously held by the once dominant name. The allure of instant photography, coupled with the ease of sharing images on social media, rendered traditional photographic methods obsolete for many. Amidst this shifting terrain, the fading company struggled to communicate its value proposition effectively. Branding efforts, once synonymous with quality and innovation, now appeared outdated in the face of vibrant marketing strategies employed by emerging players. The disconnect with the evolving consumer preferences further deepened their plight, as they found themselves alienated from the very market they once defined. The quiet encroachment of these competitors served as a testament to the unforgiving nature of progress, emphasizing the importance of adaptability in an ever-changing business environment. A reluctance to embrace change marked Kodak's response to the encroaching digital disruption. Decisions made within the organization reflected a deep-seated belief that traditional film would remain the preferred medium. This commitment to a fading product line led to strategic missteps that would. Investment in digital research and development was insufficient. Although some early innovations emerged, they were met with internal resistance as stakeholders clung to the legacy of film. Attempts to integrate digital solutions into the existing framework were often half-hearted, resulting in products that failed to resonate with consumers seeking modernity and convenience. The development of digital cameras was sluggish, and pricing strategies did not align with market expectations, further alienating potential customers. Compounding these issues, marketing efforts lacked clarity and urgency. Messaging did not convey a strong commitment to the digital realm, leaving consumers confused about Kodak's future direction. Competitors who swiftly adapted to changing preferences captured significant market share, highlighting the risk of inertia within an organization historically celebrated for innovation. The gradual decline was inevitable as market dynamics shifted, leaving Kodak struggling to redefine its identity. The remnants of a once dominant presence in this region would serve as a cautionary tale of misaligned strategy and the cost of failing to evolve. The formation of Kodak India marked a pivotal moment in the company's strategy, reflecting a desire to capitalize on emerging markets. This regional division was established with the intention of localizing operations, thereby enhancing responsiveness to consumer needs. It aimed to harness the burgeoning demand for photography in a nation with a rich cultural heritage and a growing middle class. Initially, this approach seemed promising. Local production facilities were established, and a dedicated workforce was trained to meet the specific requirements of the Indian consumer. The introduction of affordable products aimed to penetrate deeper into various market segments, fostering a sense of connection between the brand and the populace. Marketing campaigns tailored to regional sensibilities further solidified this bond. Over time, however, the challenges of operating within a decentralized framework began to emerge. The disconnect between the central leadership and regional decision-making created inconsistencies in brand messaging and product alignment. As global trends shifted toward digital photography, the delayed response to technological advancements became increasingly pronounced. While Kodak India endeavored to maintain relevance, it struggled to adapt swiftly to the changing landscape. These factors contributed to a gradual erosion of market share. The once promising regional division became overshadowed by competitors who embraced innovation with agility, leaving behind a landscape marked by nostalgia and lost potential. Marketing strategies in this context shifted as the regional division struggled to maintain its relevance. Advertising campaigns that once captured the essence of photography began to feel antiquated, unable to resonate with a generation increasingly captivated by digital advancements. The nostalgia-driven branding, once a hallmark of Kodak's identity, faded into the background, overshadowed by the bold and dynamic approaches of emerging competitors. Promotional efforts became sporadic, lacking the vigor necessary to engage a diverse and evolving consumer base. While rival companies harnessed social media and digital platforms to craft compelling narratives, the fading company clung to traditional media, believing it would sustain their brand integrity. Ironically, these efforts only deepened the divide between it and a market that craved innovation and immediacy. Branding initiatives that focused on heritage and legacy, rather than adaptation and relevance, failed to capture the attention of consumers. The emphasis on nostalgia created a barrier that alienated younger audiences who sought not the past, but a connection to contemporary experiences. Marketing messages that once evoked warmth now felt stale, devoid of the vibrancy that characterized the industry's evolution. In this shifting landscape, the disconnect between strategy and consumer expectation became evident, highlighting the critical need for adaptation that remained unaddressed in the fading division's approach. Leadership played a pivotal role in shaping the trajectory of Kodak India, influencing both its strategic direction and operational effectiveness. Decisions made at the top reverberated throughout the organization, often reflecting a reluctance to embrace the rapid technological advancements transforming the photography market. Leaders, once heralded for their innovative vision, found themselves increasingly isolated from the very realities that defined consumer preferences. This disconnect fostered an atmosphere resistant to change, where outdated practices persisted despite clear indicators of decline. Executive teams focused on maintaining legacy products, sidelining digital innovations that were gaining traction. As competitors adapted to the evolving landscape, Kodak India's leadership struggled to pivot, entrapped by a sense of nostalgia for the past. Internal communications reflected this dissonance, with messages that failed to inspire a workforce eager for direction. Engagement waned, leading to a demoralized environment where talent became disenchanted. The inability to nurture a culture of agility stifled creativity and hindered collaboration, essential elements for thriving in a dynamic marketplace. While leaders made efforts to stabilize operations, their strategies often lacked alignment with consumer expectations. This misalignment contributed to a gradual erosion of brand loyalty, as customers sought alternatives that resonated more with their contemporary needs. The once dominant presence of Kodak India diminished, overshadowed by the relentless march of innovation. Economic factors played a significant role in reshaping Kodak India's trajectory. The liberalization of the Indian economy in the early 1990s opened the gates for foreign competitors. These entrants offered advanced technologies and diverse product lines, quickly capturing market share. Increased competition exerted pressure on Kodak to adapt, but it struggled to pivot in a rapidly changing landscape. Inflation rates fluctuated significantly, impacting consumer spending behaviors. As disposable income rose for some, the affordability of film and cameras became a concern for many others. This divergence created a challenging environment for Kodak, which relied heavily on traditional film sales. The transition to digital photography, which demanded substantial investment, was not met with the urgency required to maintain relevance. Exchange rate volatility also posed a threat, affecting import costs for essential materials and components. As the rupee weakened against major currencies, production expenses increased, further squeezing profit margins. The economic downturn during the global financial crisis of 2008 compounded these difficulties, leading to reduced consumer confidence and spending. The prevailing economic conditions forced the fading company to reconsider its strategies. As the environment shifted, Kodak India found itself unable to capitalize on emerging opportunities effectively. Decisions made in the boardroom were increasingly disconnected from the realities unfolding in the market. Distribution channels in India presented a critical aspect of Kodak's operations. An extensive network once facilitated the movement of products across diverse regions. This infrastructure, designed to cater to a rapidly growing consumer base, began to fray under the weight of misaligned strategies and shifting market demands. Retail partners who once championed Kodak's photography solutions found themselves grappling with an influx of digital alternatives. The traditional film products, once a cornerstone of sales, gradually diminished in appeal. As the market shifted towards digital photography, the reliance on outdated distribution frameworks became increasingly untenable. In many areas, stock remained stagnant, occupying shelf space, while newer competitors offered innovative solutions. The disconnect between product offerings and market needs created a widening gap, impacting relationships with retailers and consumers alike. The once reliable supply chains struggled to adapt, leading to shortages or overstock situations that alienated potential buyers. Logistical inefficiencies compounded issues, with delays and mismanagement eroding trust in the brand. Retailers, once loyal to Kodak, began to explore alternatives that better aligned with the evolving technological landscape. As the regional division's challenges mounted, the intricate web of distribution channels became a symbol of its broader decline. illustrating how a failure to adapt can lead to diminished presence in a dynamic marketplace. Consumer preferences shifted significantly in response to emerging technologies. The rise of digital photography altered perceptions and behaviors in profound ways. Traditional film, once a staple, began to lose its allure as convenience and immediacy became paramount. Instant sharing on social media platforms redefined the value of capturing moments, favoring speed over the tactile experience of developing prints. This evolution in consumer behavior presented a stark contrast to the established practices that Kodak India relied upon. While nostalgia for analog photography lingered in certain demographics, the majority gravitated toward digital devices that promised instant gratification. This regional division found itself increasingly disconnected from these trends, leading to a gradual erosion of its customer base. Emerging competitors capitalized on this shift, offering innovative solutions tailored to the needs of a rapidly evolving market. The decline became palpable as sales figures reflected a disinterest in traditional products, further emphasizing the disconnect between consumer expectations and the offerings of the fading company. New entrants were agile, quickly adapting to preferences that emphasized mobile photography and editing capabilities. In this environment, Kodak India struggled to reposition itself. Efforts to modernize its approach often fell short, unable to resonate with the evolving demands of a tech-savvy audience. The landscape transformed, leaving behind a legacy entwined with a bygone era of photography. Social media emerged as a formidable force, reshaping the way photography was perceived and consumed. Platforms became vast repositories where images flourished, often eclipsing traditional photography's established norms. This proliferation introduced a new generation of photographers, armed with smartphones and a desire for instant gratification, altering the very essence of capturing moments. The immediacy of sharing images through digital channels enhanced accessibility, creating opportunities for diverse voices to emerge. No longer confined to studios or the hands of professionals, photography found itself democratized. This shift challenged the dominance of established brands, which struggled to adapt to an environment where quality was often overshadowed by virality. In this rapidly evolving landscape, the fading company found itself at a crossroads. Traditional marketing strategies became less effective as influencers and online communities reshaped consumer perceptions. The allure of curated feeds and filters created a new standard, one that diverged sharply from the meticulous craftsmanship that previously defined the art form. Amid these challenges, opportunities existed for those willing to innovate. Collaborations with digital creators emerged, blending nostalgia with contemporary trends. While the decline was palpable, the potential for reinvention lingered within the remnants of the legacy, suggesting that adaptation might illuminate a path forward in an increasingly visual world. Inevitably, the pricing strategies employed by the fading company came under scrutiny. Positioned within a market teeming with local players, decisions surrounding product pricing became critical. Price sensitivity among consumers in this region demanded a nuanced approach. Local competitors, often more nimble and attuned to the specific needs of their customer base, leveraged cost advantages that proved difficult for the legacy brand to match. The once revered name found itself grappling with perceptions of value. Consumers began to question whether higher-priced offerings reflected quality or simply the weight of tradition. This challenge intensified as local manufacturers introduced budget-friendly alternatives, capitalizing on the growing demand for accessible photographic solutions. The marketplace transformed into a battleground where price became a determining factor in consumer choice. Consequently, the company's attempts to maintain premium pricing often fell flat. Promotions intended to entice customers occasionally backfired, leading to further erosion of brand loyalty. As inventory levels surged, the organization faced an uncomfortable dilemma: lower prices to clear the shelves or risk further alienating a demographic that increasingly favored affordability over nostalgia. Each pricing decision echoed through the corridors of the company, reflecting a struggle to redefine its identity in an unforgiving environment. The once invincible leader of the photography industry found itself ensnared in a cycle of reactive strategies, unable to reclaim its former glory. Market trends shifted dramatically as the advent of mobile photography transformed consumer behavior. Compact devices, equipped with increasingly sophisticated cameras, began to dominate the landscape. This region witnessed an unprecedented surge in smartphone adoption, leading to a new generation of photography enthusiasts. It was a paradigm shift, one that caught traditional photography companies unprepared, as their focus remained entrenched in legacy products. Amidst these changes, new players emerged, leveraging the capabilities of mobile technology to offer instant sharing and editing features. The ease of access and convenience rendered traditional cameras less appealing to a growing demographic. They embraced this evolution, favoring the ability to capture and disseminate images at a moment's notice. The fading company struggled to adapt its messaging and product offerings, as their once loyal customer base began to explore alternatives. Marketing strategies that had once defined the industry now felt antiquated, unable to resonate with the desires of a younger audience. This transition was marked by an unsettling realization: the very essence of photography had shifted into a realm of immediacy and social connectivity. The once revered brand found itself relegated to a niche as consumer preferences evolved beyond its grasp, leaving behind a legacy of innovation overshadowed by obsolescence. Attempts to revive interest in the fading company involved a series of new product launches, touted as innovations meant to capture a changing market. They ventured into digital photography, introducing a range of cameras and printers designed to entice a generation increasingly reliant on smartphones. This initiative, while ambitious, failed to resonate in a landscape dominated by agile competitors. The introduction of consumer-friendly devices and software promised an easy transition from film-based photography to digital solutions. Despite these efforts, the emotional connection many had with film photography could not be replicated through pixels and screens. The allure of instant gratification from emerging technologies rendered these products inadequate. Each launch became a reminder of the disconnect between the company's offerings and consumer expectations. Marketing campaigns attempted to evoke nostalgia, but the reality of product performance often fell short. A series of digital cameras aimed at various price points struggled to gain traction, limited by their inability to compete with the rapid advancements of rivals. Failures were met with increased desperation, leading to a flurry of announcements that blurred the line between innovation and redundancy. The once pioneering spirit now seemed to be a faint echo, overshadowed by relentless industry shifts. This evolution, marked by missteps and missed opportunities, contributed further to the erosion of the brand's standing in the competitive market. The impact of global economic recessions manifested distinctly within this region. Economic downturns led to reduced consumer spending, affecting demand for photographic products and services. As disposable incomes shrank, households prioritized essential expenses, sidelining discretionary purchases such as cameras and film. The once reliable revenue streams began to dwindle, forcing the division to reassess its strategies. With tightening budgets, competition intensified. Emerging digital technologies disrupted traditional film-based approaches. In this environment, Kodak India struggled to pivot effectively, lagging behind competitors that embraced innovation. The shift to digital photography was not merely a trend, it represented a fundamental change in consumer behavior. The inability to adapt to these shifting paradigms left it vulnerable in a rapidly evolving market. Market share dwindled, and the legacy brand faced mounting pressure from agile startups and established tech companies. Marketing efforts, once robust, became increasingly ineffective as the product lineup failed to resonate with a new generation of consumers. This disconnect further contributed to the gradual decline of the division. As the economic landscape continued to fluctuate, many employees faced uncertainty in their roles. Layoffs and restructuring became commonplace, creating a pervasive sense of instability. The vitality of Kodak India waned, overshadowed by broader economic forces, signaling a poignant chapter in the history of this once mighty enterprise. The decline in Kodak India's financial performance became evident as revenues steadily diminished. Initial projections indicated robust growth, yet actual figures fell short of expectations. Annual revenue, once surpassing $100 million, began a gradual descent, signaling underlying issues in market adaptability and consumer engagement. Profit margins, once a hallmark of operational success, contracted significantly, illustrating the challenges posed by evolving technologies. The market landscape shifted dramatically, with digital photography gaining traction. This transition eroded Kodak's traditional film sales, an area where the company had once held an undeniable competitive edge. Their inability to pivot effectively resulted in revenue streams drying up, revealing a disconnect between product offerings and consumer preferences. The once reliable cash flow began to falter, forcing management to implement cost-cutting measures to mitigate losses. In this region, promotional efforts became increasingly futile, as the allure of digital solutions captivated former loyal customers. Operating costs continued to rise while revenues declined, leading to an unsustainable financial model. The cumulative effect of these trends manifested in quarterly reports that portrayed a stark reality. The organization was teetering on the brink of significant financial instability. Such trends indicated a deeper systemic failure, illuminating the challenges faced by this division in adapting to a rapidly transforming technological paradigm. The erosion of consumer trust became evident as brand loyalty diminished among Indian consumers. Once synonymous with photographic excellence, it struggled to maintain its foothold in a market increasingly favoring digital innovation. This shift was marked by a series of case studies where long-standing customers turned to competitors. Their experiences highlighted a growing discontent with the fading company's inability to meet evolving expectations. In urban centers, consumers recounted their nostalgia for the brand's iconic film products, yet this sentiment was overshadowed by a desire for modern solutions. As digital cameras and smartphones proliferated, the once prominent name failed to engage effectively with these advancements. Customers who had previously relied on it for their photographic needs began to seek alternatives that offered convenience and immediate gratification. The stories of these individuals illustrated a broader trend as loyalty waned in the face of unfulfilled promises and stagnant product offerings. For many, the transition to rival brands felt seamless, underscoring the disconnect that had developed. In rural regions, the narrative was similar, marked by the emergence of local brands that understood unique consumer demands and preferences. The fading company's attempts to reconnect were met with skepticism, further deepening the chasm between it and its former clientele. This gradual abandonment showcased the profound consequences of failing to adapt to a shifting landscape. The approach to human resource management provided little resilience amidst changing market demands. Strategies that had once cultivated a sense of loyalty and commitment began to fray, leaving employees feeling increasingly alienated. This region, once vibrant with creative potential, saw the gradual erosion of morale as staff became acutely aware of the company's stagnation. The training and development programs, which once fostered innovation, fell victim to budget cuts and misaligned priorities. Knowledge sharing dwindled, leading to a generational gap in expertise. Employees, disenchanted with the lack of vision, began to seek opportunities elsewhere, further depleting the talent pool. Communication channels became obstructed, stifling collaboration and fostering an atmosphere of uncertainty. In meetings, discussions shifted from aspirational goals to mere survival tactics. The leadership struggled to provide a coherent narrative, failing to inspire confidence or a sense of purpose among the workforce. Recruitment efforts became increasingly challenging as potential candidates recognized the declining trajectory of the organization. The once prestigious brand lost its allure, resulting in an inability to attract top talent. What remained was a skeletal framework of a once thriving division, characterized by a pervasive sense of resignation. This deterioration in human resource management positioned Kodak India at a critical disadvantage, further complicating its capacity to navigate the evolving marketplace. The depth of misunderstanding that emerged between Kodak India and its consumer base significantly hindered any chance of recovery. The Indian market, characterized by its diverse and dynamic consumer preferences, demanded a nuanced approach. Yet, the company relied on outdated perceptions that failed to resonate with the aspirations and values of local customers. This region, rich in cultural diversity, presented a complex landscape that required a tailored marketing strategy. Instead, Kodak's campaigns often reflected a homogenized view that inadequately captured the essence of Indian life. The imagery and messaging did not align with the realities faced by the average consumer. Product offerings, too, fell short. While the global market was shifting towards digital technology, Kodak India remained fixated on traditional film products. The reluctance to adapt to the rapid digital transformation created a chasm between the company and its potential customers. Consumer preferences gravitated towards affordable, versatile, and easily accessible solutions. Yet, Kodak's inability to alter its product line and marketing strategy resulted in a failure to engage effectively with the emerging middle class. The disconnect perpetuated the decline, as the once revered brand struggled to find relevance in an increasingly competitive environment. The role of retail partnerships in Kodak's strategy was once a vital component of its market presence. These collaborations provided essential access to consumers and facilitated the distribution of their products across diverse regions. As the brand began to falter, the effectiveness of these partnerships diminished, reflecting the broader challenges facing the business. Retailers, initially eager to showcase Kodak's offerings, gradually became disenchanted as sales dwindled and inventory accumulated. The shift in consumer preferences toward digital alternatives strained these collaborations. Retail partners, observing the decline in demand for traditional film products, sought to diversify their offerings, often turning to competitors who adapted more swiftly to market changes. This erosion of trust led to a gradual withdrawal of support, leaving Kodak stranded in a landscape where it once thrived. Consequently, the remaining retail relationships faltered under the weight of dwindling consumer interest. The presence in stores that had once been vibrant and bustling became sparse, reducing visibility and accessibility. As the brand's retail footprint shrank, so too did its relevance in the minds of consumers. The once familiar sight of Kodak products on shelves became a rarity, marking a poignant reminder of what had been lost: the absence of a robust retail strategy. The decline of film photography marked a pivotal moment in the timeline of this fading company. As digital technology began to emerge, it became increasingly clear that the traditional processes relied upon were becoming obsolete. This region, once bustling with enthusiastic photographers, witnessed an undeniable shift in consumer preferences. The allure of instant digital images rendered the slow, methodical nature of film processing less attractive. Decision-makers within Kodak India grappled with this new reality. They struggled to adapt their offerings to meet the evolving demands of a rapidly changing market, choosing instead to cling to historical practices. The inability to pivot strategically led to dwindling sales figures, as consumers opted for digital cameras and smartphones that provided immediate gratification. Retail spaces that once showcased vibrant displays of film and photographic supplies became silent reminders of a bygone era. Employees, once busy assisting customers, found themselves in a landscape where inquiries about film were increasingly rare. The image of the brand, once synonymous with quality photography, began to erode. Internally, the company seemed paralyzed, unable to innovate or reposition itself within a digital framework. As competitors embraced the new age of photography, Kodak India found itself trapped in a cycle of decline, a case study in the perils of failing to adapt to technological advancements. Kodak's digital imaging solutions were launched with the intention of revitalizing the brand's presence in a rapidly evolving market. This initiative aimed to reposition the company as a leader in digital photography, leveraging its historical expertise while embracing innovation. The early offerings showcased a range of digital cameras and image processing software, designed to meet the demands of a new generation of consumers seeking convenience and quality. Initial market reception was mixed. While some products garnered attention for their innovative features, many others struggled to compete effectively against established players. Consumer loyalty, built on decades of film photography, began to wane as preferences shifted toward brands that had already established a foothold in the digital landscape. This region witnessed a growing discontent among loyal customers who felt disconnected from the new offerings. The marketing strategies employed sought to bridge the gap, emphasizing the nostalgia associated with the Kodak brand. Yet this approach failed to resonate with a market that increasingly valued cutting-edge technology over sentimental ties. Sales figures reflected this disconnect, as revenue from digital products fell short of expectations. Even with substantial investment in research and development, the transition proved to be more challenging than anticipated. The Fading Company, once synonymous with photographic excellence, continued to grapple with an identity crisis, marking a significant chapter in its decline. Customer service and support systems deteriorated alongside the brand's reputation, reflecting a broader disconnect between the company and its consumer base. As technological advancements shifted the landscape of photography, the Fading Company struggled to adapt its support services to meet the evolving needs of its clientele. Responses to inquiries became less timely, and the once reliable assistance faded into a shadow of its former self. This region, once bustling with customers seeking advice on film selection and developing techniques, found itself witnessing long wait times and inadequate solutions. Consumers increasingly turned to online forums and social media for guidance, eroding the value of Kodak's legacy support. The once personal touch, characterized by knowledgeable staff, dwindled to automated responses, leaving many feeling abandoned. Simplistic troubleshooting guides replaced in-depth consultations, further alienating those who still sought a connection with the brand. The disillusionment grew as customers faced issues with products that were no longer supported adequately. Frustration was palpable as loyal patrons found themselves navigating complex digital ecosystems without the guidance they had once relied upon. Trust, once a cornerstone of the relationship, eroded steadily, with many choosing alternative brands that provided more responsive and effective support. Consequently, the decline in customer satisfaction played a crucial role in the overarching narrative of Kodak's eventual downfall. The consequences of poor adaptation to market changes became increasingly evident within the operations of Kodak India. In an industry that was swiftly transitioning from analog to digital, reluctance to embrace technological advancements created a void. This region witnessed a stagnation in innovation as competitors capitalized on emerging trends. The company's inability to pivot toward digital imaging solutions resulted in significant market share erosion. Strategic miscalculations further compounded the issue. Decisions appeared disconnected from evolving consumer preferences, leading to product offerings that failed to resonate with a tech-savvy audience. Resources allocated to outdated technologies drained financial reserves, restricting the potential for investment in more promising avenues. The Fading Company also struggled with branding, as the once beloved name became synonymous with obsolescence. Advertising campaigns, which had previously thrived on nostalgia, fell short of engaging a younger demographic. Engagement dwindled, leaving a gap that rivals eagerly filled with more relevant messaging and innovative products. This region's workforce felt the impact as layoffs increased, creating an atmosphere of uncertainty. Morale declined, and the culture shifted from one of creativity to one of survival. The inability to adapt not only altered the trajectory of Kodak India, but also served as a cautionary tale within the wider corporate landscape. The lessons learned from this decline resonate, reminding others of the vital importance of agility in an ever-evolving market. Diversification strategies emerged as Kodak sought to navigate the shifting landscape of the photographic industry. Initial attempts included expanding into digital imaging technologies, a response to the decline of traditional film. Investments were made in digital cameras and printers, suggesting a forward-thinking vision aimed at reclaiming market relevance. These efforts met with moderate success, briefly revitalizing the brand's image and capturing a segment of the burgeoning digital market. The introduction of innovative products, such as a line of photo printers, showcased Kodak's intention to adapt. Yet, despite these endeavors, the overarching strategy lacked cohesion. Rapid advancements in technology brought fierce competition, and the organization's slow response to market demands hindered sustained growth. Some initiatives failed to gain traction, while others fell victim to misjudgments regarding consumer preferences. The transition from film to digital was not seamless. The company struggled to let go of its historical identity, maintaining deep roots in film production. This hesitance created a paradox, as the very products that once defined Kodak became liabilities in the new market landscape. The gradual erosion of brand loyalty mirrored these missteps, as consumers shifted their allegiance to more agile competitors. With each passing year, the once dominant presence began to fade further into obscurity, leaving behind remnants of a legacy unable to adapt effectively to the demands of modernity. The transformation of production processes played a crucial role in the decline experienced by this regional division. Advances in digital imaging technologies surged forward, rendering traditional film-based methods increasingly obsolete. Machines that once produced high-quality prints and developed film now stood idle, overshadowed by the rise of digital photography. The inability to pivot towards these innovations left it vulnerable to competitors who embraced these changes with ease. Investment in new technologies was minimal, stifling potential revitalization efforts. This hesitance to adopt digital solutions resulted in outdated equipment that could not keep pace with evolving consumer preferences. The shift from analog to digital was not merely a matter of preference, but a fundamental change in how visual content was created and shared. Even as consumer demand shifted towards instant gratification, Kodak India remained entrenched in traditional methodologies. The production lines, once bustling with activity, now echoed with a sense of lost opportunity. The workforce, skilled in processes that were slowly rendered irrelevant, faced uncertainty as their knowledge became increasingly misplaced in a fast-evolving marketplace. This lack of technological foresight culminated in a failure to connect with a generation that valued immediacy and accessibility. As the digital age unfolded, the echoes of this regional division's legacy became mere shadows against the backdrop of an industry that had moved on without it. Sustainability initiatives in India reflected a stark contrast to the company's earlier prominence. The regional division attempted to align itself with environmental trends, introducing programs aimed at reducing waste and promoting recycling. Efforts included the establishment of collection points for used photographic materials, targeting both consumers and businesses. Despite these initiatives, engagement remained limited, overshadowed by the company's declining market relevance. In this region, water usage in manufacturing processes was scrutinized. Measures were taken to minimize consumption and enhance efficiency. Yet, as production decreased, these efforts seemed to resonate less with an increasingly disenchanted public. The local workforce, once proud to contribute to a globally recognized brand, faced uncertainty as operations dwindled, diminishing both morale and commitment to sustainability. Challenges related to pollution control lingered. Regulations tightened, requiring more rigorous compliance from manufacturers. The regional divisions struggled to adapt, as financial resources constrained the ability to invest in greener technologies. Thus, the environmental legacy remained muddled. Although initiatives were launched, they often lacked the necessary backing to create substantial impact. The fading company's attempts to reposition itself as a leader in sustainability appeared disconnected from the broader narrative of its decline. In the end, the environmental effort served as a poignant reminder of what once was, rather than a beacon of hope for the future. Competitors recognized the vulnerabilities within Kodak's regional division and acted swiftly to capitalize on them. This shift within the market landscape revealed a growing appetite for digital innovation, a stark contrast to the fading principles of film-based technology. Aggressive strategies emerged, with rival companies launching targeted campaigns that emphasized their digital prowess. They effectively positioned themselves as modern alternatives to a legacy brand that was increasingly viewed as obsolete. These competitors harnessed advanced marketing techniques and agile product development processes, enabling them to offer cutting-edge solutions tailored to the evolving demands of consumers. This region witnessed a surge in brands that prioritized versatility and user-centric design, effectively luring customers away From Kodak's once loyal base. The emergence of smartphones equipped with high-quality cameras further accelerated this trend, rendering traditional photography less relevant. The competitive landscape evolved into a battleground defined by innovation and adaptability. Rivals focused on online engagement, leveraging social media platforms to create a sense of community that Kodak struggled to maintain. This shift not only showcased the shortcomings of the fading company, but also highlighted a broader transformation within the industry itself. The erosion of Kodak's market share became increasingly evident as rival firms solidified their foothold, shifting consumer perceptions and preferences in ways that Kodak could no longer counteract. This situation marked a significant turning point in the narrative of photographic technology. Government policies played a crucial role in shaping the operational landscape for this regional division. Protective regulations initially favored domestic manufacturers, creating an environment that stifled foreign competition. These measures, intended to bolster local industry, inadvertently constrained Kodak's ability to adapt and innovate. Stricter import tariffs and complex licensing procedures hindered the flow of advanced technology and products that could have revitalized the brand's offerings. Regulatory changes throughout the years reflected shifting priorities within the government. Initiatives aimed at enhancing digital literacy and promoting local entrepreneurship often neglected the established players in the market. This oversight left Kodak grappling with an outdated business model, unable to pivot towards emerging digital trends. The absence of a supportive framework for foreign investment further exacerbated these challenges, limiting access to the necessary capital and expertise. In this region, Kodak's once dominant presence began to fade. Attempts to launch new products met with tepid consumer interest, a direct consequence of shifting market dynamics and evolving consumer preferences. The push for local content in advertising campaigns also strained resources, diverting attention from key technological advancements. This gradual erosion of market share underscored a broader issue: the company's inability to reconcile its legacy with the demands of an increasingly digital future. Marketing campaigns once defined the company's approach to brand identity and consumer engagement. In an era where visual storytelling was paramount, efforts to appeal to both amateur and professional photographers showcased a commitment to innovation. Initial advertisements celebrated the simplicity and accessibility of photography, effectively capturing the imagination of a generation eager to document life's moments. Yet, as the digital landscape evolved, these campaigns began to falter. The messaging struggled to adapt, with the traditional emphasis on film products overshadowing the emerging technologies that competitors embraced. Promotions focused on nostalgia, invoking fond memories of film reels and printed photographs, but often failed to resonate with a new audience accustomed to instant digital gratification. Feedback from consumers indicated a growing disconnect. While some appreciated the homage to a bygone era, many others sought practical solutions to their evolving photographic needs. This gap became increasingly evident as rival companies introduced sleek, user-friendly digital options, drawing attention away from the fading company's offerings. As resources were allocated towards revitalizing past successes, the marketing teams inadvertently contributed to a perception of stagnation. The once vibrant campaigns became reminders of an industry leader struggling to redefine itself amidst relentless technological advancements, leaving an indelible mark on the company's trajectory. The corporate culture in India reflected a complex interplay of innovation and adherence to tradition. This environment fostered a sense of loyalty among employees, who remained committed to a brand that had long been synonymous with photography. Yet, this devotion was increasingly overshadowed by an inability to adapt to emerging digital landscapes. Internal communications often emphasized the importance of legacy, cultivating a mindset resistant to the rapid changes occurring in the market. Leadership styles within this division tended to prioritize hierarchical structures, which stifled creativity and hindered swift decision-making. As competitors embraced agility and embraced new technologies, a reluctance to fully embrace digital transformation became apparent. Subtle resistance to change permeated the atmosphere, leaving many employees feeling disconnected from the evolving industry. Collaboration across departments was limited, creating silos that inhibited the free flow of ideas. This isolation prevented the necessary synergy required to innovate and respond to consumer demands. Training programs remained focused on traditional film photography, which further entrenched outdated practices rather than equipping staff with the skills needed for a digital future. The once celebrated brand, rooted deeply in the hearts of its employees, found itself at odds with the realities of a fast-paced, technology-driven market. In this context, Kodak India's corporate culture became both a source of strength and a barrier to renewal. The landscape shifted dramatically with the rise of e-commerce. This new digital frontier emerged as a dominant force, altering consumer behavior and expectations. Kodak India, however, struggled to adapt to this transformation. Initial attempts to establish an online presence were met with enthusiasm, but quickly revealed the limitations of their strategy. Efforts to leverage the brand's legacy in photography were undermined by a failure to innovate and align with the evolving market. The company launched an online platform intended to capture the interest of a new generation of consumers. It aimed to offer photo printing services and digital storage solutions. Unfortunately, the execution fell short of expectations. User experience issues plagued the website, leading to frustration among potential customers. Compounding these challenges was a lack of effective marketing to promote the online services, resulting in low visibility in a highly competitive digital environment. Competitors equipped with agile strategies and user-friendly interfaces began to dominate the online market. Kodak's inability to recognize the urgency of these changes left them isolated, their offerings becoming increasingly irrelevant. As e-commerce flourished, the fading company found itself not just trailing behind, but struggling to maintain its position in a sector that demanded rapid adaptation and innovation. The consequences of these strategic missteps would resonate throughout its operations, deepening the existing challenges faced by Kodak India. The financial restructuring efforts undertaken by Kodak India emerged as a necessary response to the mounting pressures on its operational viability. A series of initiatives aimed to stabilize the faltering division included cost-cutting measures and a reevaluation of existing contracts. Leadership sought to streamline processes, reducing redundancies in an attempt to improve efficiency. In this environment, asset liquidation became a common theme, with non-core divisions sold off to generate liquidity. The disposal of properties and equipment, once considered vital for its operations, reflected the urgency of the situation. It became evident that the company was grappling with a significant decline in market share, which necessitated a reallocation of resources. Investments in emerging technologies were also prioritized as part of the restructuring plan. Resources were redirected toward digital advancements, aiming to pivot the company's focus from traditional photography to digital imaging solutions. This shift reflected the broader industry trends, yet the execution remained hindered by the lagging infrastructure and the need for retraining employees. Despite these efforts, external factors, such as increased competition and rapid technological advancements, continued to undermine the effectiveness of Kodak India's strategies. The restructuring efforts, while comprehensive, the implications of corporate mismanagement on Kodak's future extend far beyond the immediate financial losses. Strategic blunders led to a gradual erosion of market share as competitors seized opportunities left unguarded. Innovation stagnated, with products lagging behind the rapidly evolving digital landscape. This regional division struggled to adapt, hampered by outdated practices and a reluctance to embrace new technologies. Employee morale diminished as uncertainty clouded job security. Talented individuals sought positions elsewhere, leaving behind a workforce increasingly comprised of those unable to pivot in the changing marketplace. This shift contributed to an insular culture where fresh ideas were stifled and progress came to a standstill. The once vibrant brand history, characterized by pioneering achievements, faded into obscurity. Recognition diminished in a world where digital imaging became the standard. Loyal customers drifted away, enticed by offerings from companies that understood the digital transition. Financial reports revealed plummeting revenues, and operational costs soared in attempts to salvage what remained. The fading company faced mounting pressure from shareholders, who demanded accountability for the declining performance. With each passing quarter, the possibility of revitalization diminished further. The specter of complete dissolution loomed, overshadowing what was once an emblem of innovation and creativity in the imaging industry. The decision to exit film production marked a pivotal moment in this fading company's history. Once a dominant force, it found itself increasingly unable to adapt to the rapid advancements in digital technology. The shift in consumer behavior, as preferences transitioned towards digital imaging solutions, rendered traditional film products obsolete. This decline in demand created insurmountable financial pressures, forcing it to reassess its core operations. The reaction to this withdrawal was mixed. Longtime customers expressed a sense of nostalgia for the products that had once defined their experiences in photography. The emotional resonance of film, with its rich textures and vibrant colors, held a place in the hearts of many. Industry experts noted that the exit reflected a broader trend among legacy companies grappling with the digital revolution. Competitors, meanwhile, seized the opportunity to fill the void left behind. They swiftly adapted their strategies, enhancing their offerings and capitalizing on Kodak's retreat. This shift not only accelerated their market growth, but also led to a new era of innovation in imaging technology. Within these ruins, the remnants of Kodak's legacy continued to evoke a sense of lost potential. The once thriving division now existed as a cautionary tale, illustrating the profound consequences of failing to embrace change in a rapidly evolving landscape. Strategic alliances played a pivotal role in shaping its business model, serving as a means to enhance competitiveness and foster innovation. Collaborations with technology companies and regional distributors were intended to amplify its presence in emerging markets. These partnerships promised access to new technologies and distribution channels, which could have revitalized its offerings. However, the execution of these alliances was often inconsistent, leading to missed opportunities. The relationships formed were sometimes hampered by misalignment in goals. While some partners sought to innovate, others remained tethered to outdated practices. This disconnect stifled potential advancements in product development and market penetration. The anticipated synergy from these alliances often fell short, resulting in a fragmented approach that could not effectively respond to market demands. Internal communication issues further exacerbated the situation. Misunderstandings and misalignment between divisions hindered collaboration, leading to a lack of cohesive strategy. The absence of a unified vision resulted in scattered efforts that failed to yield the desired competitive advantage. As the landscape continued to shift, these strategic alliances became more of a liability than an asset. Intellectual property challenges emerged as a significant hurdle for the fading company. Legal disputes regarding patents and trademarks began to escalate, complicating its operations in India. This region, with its burgeoning market potential, presented obstacles that proved difficult to navigate. The once revered brand found itself embroiled in litigation as competitors sought to exploit perceived weaknesses in its intellectual property portfolio. These challenges were exacerbated by the rapid evolution of technology, rendering certain innovations obsolete before they could be monetized effectively. The failure to adapt to the digital landscape left significant vulnerabilities. They struggled to enforce their rights against infringement, leading to a loss of market share and consumer trust. Amidst this turmoil, internal resources were stretched thin. Legal teams became overwhelmed, focusing on reactive measures rather than proactive strategies. The intricate web of regulations and varying enforcement standards across jurisdictions added layers of complexity to an already precarious situation. This growing uncertainty contributed to a decline in investor confidence. Stakeholders began to question the viability of the division, as the specter of litigation loomed large over future prospects. The consequences of these intellectual property challenges reverberated throughout the organization, diminishing its once formidable presence in the marketplace. In this environment, survival became increasingly difficult for the established name. The erosion of consumer trust contributed significantly to the decline of the established name. As the market shifted towards digital technologies, it became evident that the venerable brand struggled to adapt to changing consumer preferences. This inability to innovate resulted in a perception that the company was outdated and disconnected from its customer base. As competitors emerged with agile strategies and modern offerings, skepticism surrounding the reliability and relevance of the brand intensified. Consumers began to associate it with a bygone era, leading to a gradual detachment from its once loyal clientele. The once familiar logo, which had symbolized quality and innovation, now evoked memories of missed opportunities and stagnation. In this region, whispers of dissatisfaction grew louder. Consumers shared experiences of frustration with products that failed to meet contemporary expectations. Marketing campaigns, once celebrated for their creativity, became increasingly ineffective, struggling to resonate with a demographic that sought immediacy and technological advancement. The gap between the company's offerings and consumer desires widened, further entrenching the divide. Consequently, trust deteriorated, and with it, the brand's image faltered. The legacy of Kodak transformed from a pioneer in photography to a cautionary tale of resistance to change. As the years progressed, the fading company became a symbol of lost relevance in an ever-evolving landscape. Trade shows and exhibitions served as critical platforms for Kodak India, offering opportunities to showcase innovations and engage with an audience eager for new imaging technologies. Vibrant displays attracted crowds, but over time, the allure diminished. Once bustling booths filled with eager attendees became quieter, reflecting a waning interest in products that had once defined visual communication. Marketing strategies relied heavily on these events to bolster brand visibility. High-profile launches aimed to recapture attention, yet competition intensified. Rivals emerged with agile approaches and fresh perspectives, leaving Kodak's offerings increasingly overshadowed. These gatherings, which once promised excitement, began to highlight a disconnect between the company's trajectory and the demands of a changing market. Attendance figures slowly declined, mirroring the broader trend of disengagement. Enthusiasm for film-based products waned as digital imaging surged, rendering Kodak's legacy offerings less compelling. Conversations shifted, focusing on competitors who embraced innovation, while Kodak lingered in the past. The disconnect became evident in product presentations, where industry professionals observed a lack of alignment with contemporary needs. The once celebrated imaging giant struggled to adapt its messaging, and what remained were echoes of past successes, fading amidst the evolving technological landscape. The final exhibitions bore witness to the bittersweet legacy of a once dominant force, now relegated to whispers of nostalgia. Crisis management strategies unfolded within the confines of this fading company, revealing a series of missteps. Initial responses lacked the urgency required to address the encroaching technological advancements that threatened traditional photography. This region witnessed a reluctance to pivot towards digital innovation, an oversight that became increasingly apparent as competitors embraced the shift. Leadership struggled to convey a coherent vision during the tumultuous period, leading to fragmented efforts that failed to resonate with consumers. Misguided marketing campaigns attempted to rekindle interest, yet they often felt disconnected from the evolving landscape. An over-reliance on legacy products created an illusion of stability, masking the underlying vulnerabilities. Financial resources dwindled as operational inefficiencies became evident. Investment in research and development was insufficient, resulting in an inability to create competitive digital offerings. Attempts to streamline operations yielded minimal results, with layoffs further demoralizing the workforce. The once proud brand became synonymous with stagnation. A lack of foresight marked the trajectory of the regional division. Embracing the digital revolution could have altered its fate. Acknowledging the technological shift in consumer preferences was critical. Instead, it clung to traditional film solutions, neglecting the burgeoning demand for digital imaging. Investing in innovation would have sustained relevance. Establishing a dedicated research and development team focusing on emerging technologies might have generated new products that aligned with evolving market trends. This strategy would have allowed the brand to engage effectively with a younger demographic, one increasingly favored by competitors. Enhancing customer engagement through social media and digital marketing could have cultivated a loyal consumer base. Leveraging these platforms to communicate the value of its offerings would have fostered connection. This approach would have transformed perceptions from outdated to forward-thinking. Collaborative partnerships with tech firms might have led to the development of groundbreaking solutions, bridging the gap between traditional practices and modern demands. An openness to adapt business models could have diversified revenue streams. Exploring avenues beyond photography, such as photo books or personalized prints, might have revitalized interest. Finally, a willingness to acknowledge missteps and pivot quickly remains essential in a rapidly changing landscape. By embracing change rather than resisting it, the fading company may have carved a path toward resurgence rather than decline. The shift in consumer preferences marked a significant turning point. Traditional photography, once the hallmark of personal and professional expression, began to wane as digital technology advanced. This transformation altered not only how images were captured, but also the very essence of photography itself. Instant gratification became the new standard, with users favoring quick, digital snapshots over the deliberate process of film development. The rise of smartphones equipped with high-quality cameras further accelerated this transition. It became commonplace for individuals to document their lives through these devices, resulting in an unprecedented surge of digital content. The allure of immediate sharing and the convenience of portability overshadowed the nostalgic appeal of film. This region witnessed the emergence of countless social media platforms where images could be disseminated globally in moments. Kodak India, once synonymous with memories, found itself struggling to adapt to this rapidly evolving environment. The reluctance to pivot from a traditional business model to one embracing digital innovation marked a crucial misstep. This failure to recognize the changing landscape led to diminished relevance in the marketplace. As competitors began to thrive by capitalizing on these new consumer behaviors, the fading company's once vibrant presence grew increasingly muted, illustrating the harsh realities of a business unable to evolve amidst a transformative era. Investment in education and training within the workforce diminished over time, contributing to the decline of this regional division. Initially, Kodak emphasized the importance of skill development, fostering an environment where employees could adapt to technological advancements. This commitment slowly eroded, leaving a gap in expertise as the industry transitioned toward digital innovation. The absence of updated training programs resulted in a workforce that struggled to navigate the evolving landscape. Employees found themselves ill-equipped to manage new technologies, leaving them reliant on outdated practices. Workshops and seminars that once thrived became infrequent events, leading to a lack of engagement and diminishing morale among workers. This disconnect proved detrimental, as the organization failed to harness the potential of its human resources. Without a robust educational framework, the fading company could not instill confidence in its employees, the reluctance to invest in ongoing development. As competitors embraced training initiatives to cultivate talent, the disparity became evident, marking a stark contrast between the proactive approaches of others and the stagnation within this division. The erosion of a once knowledgeable workforce contributed significantly to the challenges this entity faced, encapsulating a pivotal aspect of its decline. In the final years, a series of events unraveled that marked the decline of this entity. In 2011, a restructuring initiative was launched, aiming to streamline operations and cut costs. Efforts to innovate were overshadowed by the inability to adapt to the rapid digital transformation impacting the industry. By 2012, it became apparent that the traditional film market was diminishing, and sales continued to plummet. The once revered brand struggled to redefine its identity in a world increasingly favoring digital photography. The introduction of new products failed to gain traction, leading to a loss of market share and consumer trust. The year 2013 brought a pivotal moment. Kodak India announced significant layoffs, signaling the depth of its financial woes. These reductions were not merely numbers. They represented the loss of talent and expertise critical to the company's core operations. In 2014, the company filed for bankruptcy, a decision reflecting a culmination of years of mismanagement and strategic misalignment. Following this event, the brand began to sell off its assets, stripping away the remnants of a once vibrant division. By the end of 2015, the division had effectively ceased to exist, leaving behind a legacy of innovation and a cautionary tale within this region's corporate landscape. The aftermath of Kodak's decline reverberated through the lives of its employees, many of whom had dedicated decades to the company. Job losses began to materialize swiftly, creating an unsettling atmosphere that permeated the remnants of the organization. Communities once thriving around the Kodak infrastructure faced sudden economic instability. Individuals were left to navigate the uncertainty of an evolving job market, often with few transferable skills. This region witnessed a significant shift in its workforce dynamics. The once proud employees, previously buoyed by the brand's storied history, found themselves grappling with diminished prospects. Many took to local job fairs, seeking opportunities in sectors unrelated to their expertise, while others returned to school, hoping to acquire new skills that would allow for a fresh start. The emotional toll extended beyond financial concerns. Grief intertwined with nostalgia as former employees reflected on a collective identity shaped by shared values and purpose. Bonds forged within the walls of the corporation were tested as friendships faded under the weight of uncertainty. In the shadows of this regional decline, numerous support networks emerged, providing resources and guidance for those affected. These efforts, however noble, served as a reminder of the once dominant force that had shaped both careers and lives, now reduced to mere memories and lessons. The closure of Kodak's production facilities in India marked a significant turning point in the company's trajectory. Manufacturing operations, once bustling with activity, gradually fell silent as the realities of market dynamics took precedence over nostalgic recollections. This region, once a hub of innovation and craftsmanship, became emblematic of the broader challenges faced by the fading company. Initially, the facilities thrived, contributing to both local economies and global supply chains. Skilled labor and advanced technologies coalesced in a promising alliance, further entrenching Kodak's reputation. Over time, however, shifts in consumer behavior, driven by the digital revolution, rendered traditional film production increasingly obsolete. It became evident that maintaining these operations was not sustainable within the evolving landscape of photography. As production lines ceased, the impact rippled through communities and supply networks. Jobs vanished, leaving behind vacant spaces that echoed the ambitions once held within their walls. The remnants of equipment lay dormant, gathering dust, while the buildings, now hollowed structures, stood as a testament to the decline. This closure did not merely signify a loss of jobs, it represented a disconnect between a once cherished legacy and the unforgiving pace of technological advancement. The remains of Kodak in India serve as a quiet reminder of the fragility inherent in corporate endeavors amidst changing times. The legacy of Kodak India encompasses a series of lessons for future generations of entrepreneurs and corporate leaders. The once thriving entity stood as a beacon for innovation in photography, yet it faltered in the face of technological evolution. Strategic decisions, once thought to be sound, became misaligned with the rapid digital transformation that swept through the industry. This region, once vibrant with activity, now hosts deserted manufacturing facilities, where the echoes of bustling production lines have faded. The heavy investment in traditional film technology, while initially profitable. Cautionary tales arise from the practices of Kodak India, illustrating the importance of adaptability in business strategy. Leaders must be vigilant in recognizing shifts in consumer preferences and emerging technologies. The narrative unveils the pitfalls of complacency, underscoring that success can breed overconfidence, which may obscure the necessity for continuous innovation. The lessons gleaned from this decline serve as guiding principles for future endeavors. A focus on consumer engagement, diversification of product offerings, and a willingness to embrace change emerge as vital components for sustainable success. Amidst the remnants of Kodak's legacy, a blueprint for resilience and foresight is etched into the collective consciousness of tomorrow's business leaders. The emergence of digital imaging competitors fundamentally reshaped this sector, rendering traditional film photography increasingly obsolete. Companies like Canon and Nikon adapted swiftly, capitalizing on the shift towards digital technology. They invested heavily in research and development, creating cameras that offered enhanced capabilities and convenience. The allure of instant gratification drew customers away from this fading company, as digital images could be captured, viewed, and shared within moments. In contrast, rival firms embraced innovation, launching products that catered to evolving consumer preferences. Canon's introduction of groundbreaking digital SLR cameras, equipped with advanced features, captivated a new generation of photographers. Meanwhile, Nikon's user-friendly interfaces made photography accessible to the masses, further stealing market share from Kodak's once dominant position. This region began to witness a seismic shift in consumer behavior, as the rise of smartphones equipped with high-quality cameras fundamentally changed the landscape. Competition intensified, with tech giants like Apple and Samsung entering the fray, offering devices that combined communication and photography in unprecedented ways. The allure of carrying a lightweight device capable of capturing high-resolution images shifted consumer loyalties. These developments underscored the importance of agility and adaptability in business. The fading company's failure to respond effectively to this changing environment serves as a poignant case study in the pitfalls of stagnation within a rapidly evolving industry. Rebranding efforts emerged as a response to the shifting dynamics within the photography market. Initiatives aimed to revitalize public perception and align the company with modern technological trends. Marketing campaigns were rolled out, showcasing new products that incorporated digital capabilities, attempting to bridge the gap between traditional film and digital photography. These strategies, however, were marred by significant shortcomings. The new branding often felt disjointed, struggling to resonate with both loyal customers and potential new users. The reliance on outdated business models impeded the integration of innovative digital solutions. Products introduced to the market bore the weight of an identity crisis, as they attempted to combine legacy attributes with modern functionalities. Commitment to film remained evident, complicating the transition. This duality led to confusion among consumers who were uncertain about the brand's direction. Competing entities capitalized on this indecision, swiftly capturing market share and solidifying their presence in the digital domain. In this region, the potential for growth and reinvention was overshadowed by a lack of cohesive vision. The disconnect between marketing messages and product offerings further eroded consumer trust. It became increasingly clear that the attempts at rebranding were not enough to counteract the underlying issues of mismanagement and innovation stagnation. This regional division faced mounting challenges as photography trends evolved. The transition from film to digital captured the market's attention, reshaping consumer preferences and expectations. This shift rendered traditional film products increasingly obsolete. It was not merely an industry trend. It represented a fundamental change in how individuals documented their lives. The emergence of smartphones with integrated cameras further accelerated this transformation. The convenience and immediacy of capturing and sharing images through these devices resonated with a new generation, often prioritizing instant gratification over the tactile experience of film. Kodak's response was a cautious adaptation, attempting to pivot towards digital offerings. Yet, this strategy lacked the urgency necessary to compete effectively. Familiarity with film led the organization to underestimate the rapid pace of digital innovation. This hesitation allowed competitors to seize market share, capitalizing on the new technologies that Kodak struggled to embrace fully. The reliance on established products clouded executive decision-making, creating a disconnect between consumer desires and corporate direction. In this landscape, Kodak's once emblematic brand began to fade, overshadowed by nimble newcomers who thrived on the digital wave. The inability to shift focus swiftly and decisively signaled a profound miscalculation. As these trends solidified, the fading company found itself in a precarious position, grappling with an identity crisis that would define its decline. This legacy in Indian photography was once vibrant, marked by an era where the brand resonated deeply within the lives of countless individuals. The presence of Kodak film and cameras became synonymous with cherished memories and significant life events, capturing weddings, festivals, and family gatherings. This cultural footprint was profound, as it influenced not only personal practices, but also professional photography standards across the region. In urban centers, the iconic yellow and red packaging became a familiar sight in neighborhood stores, symbolizing reliability and quality. Photographers, both amateur and professional, relied on its products to create visual narratives, embedding the brand within the very fabric of society. Community events often featured Kodak-branded competitions, further solidifying its position as a cultural touchstone. As digital technology emerged, the responses varied. While some embraced the innovation, others mourned the loss of traditional methods, producing a complex emotional landscape. The gradual shift away from film altered consumer relationships with photography, leading to a decline in demand for Kodak's physical products. Despite this, the nostalgia for its film lingered, encapsulating a sense of loss for a bygone era, where capturing a moment meant waiting for the developed image to reveal itself, a stark contrast to the instant gratification that digital photography provided. This juxtaposition highlighted the brand's struggles and the evolving dynamics of visual storytelling. Innovation, once a hallmark of this entity, gradually waned as a competitive edge. The advent of digital technology, which should have been embraced, was met with reluctance. This hesitance, rooted in a steadfast commitment to traditional film processes, fostered a culture resistant to change. While others adapted to the burgeoning digital landscape, it clung to past successes, believing that nostalgia could sustain relevance. In this region, the introduction of digital photography by competitors marked a turning point. Products that could capture images instantly and share them across networks rendered the conventional film experience obsolete. The inability to pivot effectively led to a significant decline in consumer interest, as the public's preference shifted rapidly toward convenience and immediacy. The decline in research and development investment further stifled potential breakthroughs. Once a leader in imaging technology, it found itself trailing behind more agile rivals. Innovation, which could have rejuvenated this fading company, became a shadow of its former self. Market share diminished, and with it, the ability to influence trends. The once cherished name became synonymous with stagnation, as efforts to revitalize the brand through outdated products failed to resonate. As it grappled with these challenges, the opportunity for reinvention slipped away, leaving a lingering sense of what might have been. Global market trends shifted rapidly, marking a departure from traditional photography. The rise of digital technology fundamentally altered consumer expectations and preferences. This evolving landscape introduced fierce competition from agile companies that embraced innovation. The emergence of smartphones equipped with high-quality cameras further diluted Kodak's market share, rendering its once cherished products obsolete. Kodak India, unable to pivot effectively, found itself trapped within its own legacy. The brand's storied past became a double-edged sword, as nostalgia could not replace the necessity for modern adaptation. While consumers gravitated toward instant photography solutions, the fading company struggled to redefine its value proposition. The urgency of digital transformation persisted, yet internal resistance and a lack of clear vision stifled progress. In parallel, global economic fluctuations exerted pressure on operational costs. Price sensitivity increased among consumers, compelling Kodak India to navigate a challenging balance between quality and affordability. Meanwhile, budget constraints limited the division's capacity to invest in research and development. These compounding challenges created a perfect storm of declining revenues and market relevance. With each passing quarter, Kodak India witnessed a steady erosion of its customer base. The once dominant entity saw its identity dissolve amidst the relentless advance of digital photography, leading to a quiet, inevitable decline in the region. The remnants of its former stature began to fade into obscurity. The decline of this regional division parallels the fates of other once dominant corporations that misjudged the shifting landscape of technology and consumer behavior. Kodak's reliance on traditional film products, despite early innovations in digital technology, mirrors the trajectory of firms like Blockbuster and BlackBerry. This region, once bustling with the enthusiasm of budding photographers, became a quiet echo of a bygone era, much like the empty aisles of a closed video rental store. In the face of emerging competitors, the failure to pivot led to a gradual erosion of market share. The once familiar logo that adorned countless cameras now stands as a reminder of a collective oversight in strategic foresight. The inability to embrace the digital revolution proved detrimental, as it rendered products obsolete in a rapidly evolving environment. This was not merely an isolated incident. Rather, it reflects a systemic issue faced by many established players. Similar to the decline of esteemed telecommunications firms unable to adapt to smartphones, Kodak's hesitance to fully commit to digital imaging left it vulnerable to disruption. The transition from tangible to intangible products was not just a challenge for Kodak, it was a broader phenomenon affecting several industries. The lessons etched within these failures linger, offering insights into the importance of adaptability in an increasingly digital world. The financial statements of Kodak India reveal a gradual but persistent decline, marked by a series of troubling indicators. Revenues that once surged past 2 billion rupees began to dwindle, reflecting a stark shift in consumer preferences and a failure to pivot towards digital innovation. Profit margins thinned, eroded by rising operational costs and an inability to compete with agile competitors. Expenses consistently outpaced revenues, leading to a depletion of reserves. The balance sheet displayed mounting liabilities, hinting at a reliance on credit that inventory levels soared, reflecting the inability to shift remaining stock in a market that had largely moved on. This region was littered with unsold products, a physical manifestation of miscalculations in forecasting demand. The inability to embrace the digital shift resulted not only in declining sales, but also in a loss of market share to more innovative firms that adapted swiftly to the changing landscape. Shareholder equity witnessed a significant contraction, indicating a lack of confidence in the company's long-term viability. As the once celebrated brand faced mounting financial pressures, the landscape became increasingly inhospitable. The decline of Kodak India serves as a profound case study in the critical need for strategic foresight and adaptability. It became apparent that maintaining investor confidence was paramount during the turbulent years of Kodak India's decline. Efforts to manage stakeholder expectations revolved around consistent communication and an emphasis on long-term recovery strategies. The company endeavored to project a sense of stability, often highlighting their commitment to innovation and market responsiveness. This approach aimed to reassure investors that management was navigating the challenges with diligence. In this environment, quarterly earnings reports carried significant weight. They reflected not only financial performance, but also the broader narrative of resilience. Despite facing mounting losses, there were attempts to frame setbacks as temporary hurdles rather than indicators of irreversible decline. Statements from executives often included optimistic forecasts, suggesting that the core strengths of the organization would eventually prevail. Engagement with institutional investors was crucial. Regular meetings and updates sought to address concerns, yet the growing disconnect between promises and performance became increasingly evident. Analysts scrutinized the lack of tangible results, leading to a gradual erosion of trust. As market conditions shifted and competition intensified, it was challenging to maintain the facade of confidence. The disruption of technology played a pivotal role in the decline of this once iconic brand. As digital photography emerged, it rendered traditional film-based models increasingly obsolete. Consumers began to favor convenience and immediacy over the nostalgia associated with physical prints. This shift was not merely a trend, but a fundamental change in how images were captured and shared. Cameras evolved rapidly, with compact devices offering quality that rivaled professional models. In this region, the increasing accessibility of smartphones, equipped with advanced camera capabilities, altered consumer behavior. The immediacy of capturing and sharing moments in real time diminished the demand for traditional film products. Kodak's reluctance to pivot towards digital innovation was a critical miscalculation. Internal structures remained tied to outdated practices, clinging to a business model that no longer resonated with the marketplace. Meanwhile, competitors embraced the digital revolution, launching platforms that encouraged users to store and share their images online. This led to a fragmentation of Kodak's once dominant market share, as newer companies capitalized on the technological shift. The company faced mounting pressure, unable to adapt quickly enough to the rapid evolution in consumer preferences and technology. The permanence of digital images eroded the foundation of a business that had thrived on the tangible, leading to a quiet yet undeniable decline. The psychological impact on employees following the collapse was profound. Once proud individuals who had dedicated their careers to an iconic brand found themselves navigating the unsettling reality of uncertainty. This region, once bustling with energy and innovation, became a space marked by disillusionment. The sense of loss permeated the air, creating an atmosphere heavy with regret and nostalgia. Many employees grappled with the abrupt shift in identity as the company's legacy faded into memory. Longtime workers faced an existential crisis, their skills rendered obsolete in the wake of technological shifts. The camaraderie that had flourished in shared success turned into a collective mourning for what once was. The corridors, once filled with laughter and collaboration, echoed with silence, amplifying feelings of isolation. These ruins of a once vibrant workplace served as a constant reminder of dreams unfulfilled. The uncertainty of the future loomed large, leaving many in a state of prolonged anxiety. Some sought solace in retraining programs, hoping to adapt to a rapidly changing job market, while others clung to the past, unwilling to let go of their affiliation with the brand. Frustration mingled with despair as they confronted the reality of a world that had moved on, leaving them grappling with their place in it. The exit strategy unfolded gradually, marked by a series of decisions that reflected an inability to adapt to changing market dynamics. Leadership opted for a retrenchment approach, downsizing operations in an effort to cut losses. This decision, though intended to stabilize the company, laid bare the vulnerabilities of a once dominant player. Resources were reallocated, yet the shift to digital technology remained sluggish, undermining their competitiveness. Strategic partnerships were pursued, yet these alliances failed to yield the expected results, often leading to confusion rather than collaboration. The regional division struggled to find its footing as management aimed to pivot toward new markets. Efforts to reposition the brand as an innovator were met with skepticism, revealing a disconnect between consumer expectations and corporate messaging. Investment in research and development dwindled, further stifling innovation. The resulting stagnation generated a sense of urgency, but it was too late. Initiatives to recapture market share fell flat, leaving many disillusioned. Communication breakdowns exacerbated internal challenges, eroding employee morale. In a final attempt to salvage its reputation, the company launched marketing campaigns that resonated poorly with audiences. The bitter irony lay in their heritage. Once pioneers in imaging technology, they became emblematic of obsolescence. As the last vestiges of influence faded, the realization of lost opportunity settled in. The future of photography in India emerged from the shadows of lost innovation and dwindling market presence. New players stepped into the void left by the fading company, embracing technology that Kodak once pioneered. Digital cameras gained traction, as well as the prevalence of smartphones equipped with advanced camera capabilities. This shift fundamentally altered consumer behavior and preferences, catalyzing a transformation within the industry. Emerging companies and local startups began to redefine the landscape, focusing on convenience and accessibility. They capitalized on social media platforms, where sharing photographic moments became a cultural norm. The emphasis shifted toward user-generated content, encouraging creativity and engagement among the populace. Meanwhile, traditional photographic services struggled to adapt. The once thriving marketplaces of prints and film dwindled, leaving behind vacant storefronts and remnants of a bygone era. This region bore witness to the rise of online printing services, offering streamlined solutions that further diminished the need for physical stores. As digital photography flourished, educational institutions began to cultivate a new generation of photographers, fostering skills and creativity in a previously untapped demographic. The narrative of photography in India, once dominated by a single entity, now flourished through diversification and innovation, reflecting a collective resilience that embraced change. The absence of Kodak became a catalyst for evolution, giving birth to a vibrant new chapter in photographic expression. Cultural reflection reveals that Kodak's presence once shaped the visual landscape of India, deeply intertwining with the collective memory of its people. The company provided tools that empowered individuals to capture moments, fostering a sense of identity through imagery. It facilitated a burgeoning relationship between personal experiences and the photographic medium, enabling families to document milestones and celebrations. This influence manifested in various forms, from traditional family portraits to candid shots of daily life. Each photograph became a vessel of nostalgia, preserving the essence of a rapidly changing society. The impact extended beyond mere consumerism. It fostered a culture of remembrance and storytelling, where images served as tangible connections to the past. As the fading company withdrew from this region, it left behind not merely products, but a profound legacy. The immediate void prompted a reevaluation of what it meant to document life. Local businesses emerged, offering new avenues for creative expression, often infusing modern technology with traditional practices. The transition signified a shift from reliance on established giants to a more diverse and innovative photographic community. In this evolving landscape, the essence of Kodak's influence remains, echoing in the hearts of those who continue to celebrate their stories through the lens of a camera. The photographs endure, testifying to a time when Kodak was synonymous with capturing life's fleeting moments. The role of documentaries and media in shaping Kodak's narrative is significant, intricately woven into the fabric of its decline. These visual narratives often highlighted the company's pioneering spirit, showcasing its contributions to photography and film. They presented a portrait of innovation, portraying Kodak as a leader in technological advancements. This image, however, began to fray as the landscape of photography evolved. Coverage shifted from celebration to scrutiny. Documentaries began to explore the missteps and missed opportunities that characterized Kodak's later years. They documented the reluctance to embrace digital technology, contrasting it with the rapid ascent of competitors who adapted and thrived in a digital world. The stories told in these films were not merely historical recollections. They served as cautionary tales for other corporations. This region of cinematic storytelling provided a platform for experts and former employees to reflect on the decisions that led to decline. It was within these narratives that the complexities of corporate inertia and the challenges of innovation became palpable. The archival footage juxtaposed with interviews conveyed an unsettling truth. The once iconic brand had transformed into a relic, overshadowed by a landscape dominated by new players. These documentaries became instruments of reflection, laying bare the stark realities of a company that once defined an industry, now relegated to the annals of history. Lessons from Kodak India's failure emerged not solely from the company's decline, but also from the broader implications of its trajectory. This region witnessed a once thriving market, characterized by innovation and rapid growth. The shift in technological paradigms, coupled with an inability to adapt, marked a turning point. It illustrates the dangers of complacency in a competitive landscape. The emphasis on traditional film products, while ignoring advancing digital technologies, contributed significantly to its downfall. Failure to embrace digital transformation can serve as a cautionary tale for other enterprises. The once dominant position in the market diminished gradually as competitors capitalized on emerging trends. This shift highlights the necessity for agility and foresight in corporate strategy, emphasizing research and development while fostering a culture of innovation can safeguard against obsolescence. The regional division's struggles reflect a broader narrative within corporate ecosystems. The transition from a product-centric to a technology-driven approach is paramount in maintaining relevance. This case illustrates the importance of understanding consumer behavior and aligning business models accordingly. Companies must remain vigilant, adapting relentlessly to technological advancements and shifting consumer expectations. Kodak India's decline serves as a stark reminder that legacy alone cannot sustain a business. Continuous evolution is essential for survival in an ever-changing marketplace. The legacy of Kodak in India remains a complex tapestry of innovation and decline, marked by a once prominent brand that symbolized the intersection of technology and creativity. The region flourished under its influence, witnessing a surge in photographic enthusiasm and a burgeoning market for imaging solutions. This prosperity, however, began to wane as shifts in consumer behavior emerged, revealing the limitations of the established model. The advent of digital technology transformed the landscape, challenging the very foundation upon which it was built. This transition highlighted the disconnect between the company's strategic responses and the evolving needs of its consumers. The diminishing presence of Kodak in this region served as a stark reminder of the consequences of failing to adapt to new paradigms. As it retracted from the marketplace, remnants of its once thriving operations lingered, abandoned factories and fading advertisements etched in collective memory. This decline has imprinted lessons on resilience and foresight for both industry leaders and aspiring entrepreneurs. The echoes of Kodak's innovation continue to resonate, serving as a case study in the annals of corporate history. In this reflective silence, the impact of Kodak's journey in India permeates the narrative of technological evolution, illuminating the importance of agility and responsiveness in a world that relentlessly progresses.